So my childhood was quite up and down. I witnessed a lot of domestic violence, with my parents and stuff. I was in and out of foster care a lot, so I was moved around. Went through like 23 different primary schools, all up and down different parts of Australia. So, as a result of that, I experienced a lot of bullying. I grew up in a world where, drug and alcohol was really normalised for me, especially within relationships. So I ended up in that type of relationship, even though I'd always said I wouldn't do that or put my child through that. I ended up in a domestic violent relationship at the age of 12, and that, got pretty serious by the age of 14. I was already on everyday drug use by that stage. I was very stuck in that emotional, financial, sort of abusive relationship, and cut off from friends and family. So when that ended, I was 26, and I went downhill from there. I spiraled from marijuana use to ice use. And during that time, before I broke up with my partner, I'd actually buried my first child who was stillborn, and that was my first real experience of death. So as a result, I had anxiety and depression, and I was diagnosed with complex PTSD. So when that relationship ended and I spiraled into the ice use, I became really lost. I had no hope. I didn't think there was any future. I'd become the mother that I said I'd never become. So I ended up actually going to Chisholm Ross, the mental hospital. I was self-admitted there because otherwise I probably would have done something, bad. I was waking up in really unsafe situations. I was also a blackout drinker on top of the ice use. And by that stage, my daughter, who's on the spectrum, was living with my mum, and I felt like I'd failed her as well as myself, and didn't have much hope for life. Chisholm Ross actually helped me get in contact with Toora the first time that I'd ever been in contact with them. But back then it was just like a 2-week period while I waited for a bed at another facility. I did get 3 years up after that rock bottom, but recently had another rock bottom. This one I feel like it was more emotional. Like this time I kept my house. I wasn't homeless like I had been in the past, but any glimmer of hope or being able to get back on the horse was sort of gone. I'd really damaged my self-worth, and because I'd had my daughter back and then sort of failed her again, it was really hard to actually feel like there was some hope. So I contacted a counsellor of mine from the past facility that I'd been at, and actually got her to help me contact Toora. Toora is actually known really well around the community as a place for women by women. So I ended up in Leslie's place. The inner change myself since Leslie's place, I think I really needed that women by women approach. And I honestly, I feel more like an adult than I've ever felt like. They empower you to do stuff yourself. And I've completed the Healing Trauma group, which I just found so useful. And some of the tools from that I know that I can even use to help my daughter when she's going through stuff and to heal from her stuff as well. I know I'm still on a journey of healing, and it's going to take a long time. But the tools that I learned in the day program, I remember sitting in detox, and I seen the program outline for day program on the wall, and I was just inspired by the different categories that I get to learn about, financial planning, all that sort of thing, living and loving, and building that self-compassion and self-worth, and things that was just so foreign, but I knew they were what I needed. I definitely have learnt so much. I for the first time ever, I feel ambitious. I'm actually thinking of going into the AOD sector myself. I want to use my story to give back to other people. I had that approach from some of the staff as well. And I think that's the great thing about Toora. Like us as women, we all have our stories. And I definitely felt nurtured and in a safe place. My case plan was tailored around the goals that I had. I didn't feel inadequate because I'd never had a license. I felt encouraged to, get on the horse, and, it was never too late to try, and I'd never felt like that before. My relationship with my daughter is in the middle of it getting repaired. As other family members and stuff, I've still got family members in addiction, but it doesn't get me as much anymore. I think being at Leslie's place and doing the programs with Toora have actually helped me have that self-worth where I can actually plough through things that before would have left me in pieces.